This week, we see the start of offensives and the end of careers. First thing this week is Major General Ambrose P. Burnside. He came up with his plan to march towards full General Robert.E.Lee. He's been tattled on, so what now? A telegram from President Abraham Lincoln, in fact.
No major army movements are to be made without first informing the White House.
General Burnside is surprised by this. So few men know. He hadn't even told most of his commanders, but somehow the president found out. There must be dissension in his ranks. He goes to the White House for a meeting with the president and General-in-Chief Henry Halleck. He demands to know who in his army spoke with the president. Lincoln won't give up the names. Burnside says he can't handle this kind of mutiny. They need to be court-martialed. Halleck agrees, but the president is the commander-in-chief, and he needs to have an open line of communication with the army. He isn't giving up his source. Major General Ambrose Burnside asks to talk with President alone. All staffers and associates leave the room. The door closes, and General Burnside goes into a full-fledged rant. Secretary of War Edwin Stanton didn't give him the resources he needed, and General-in-Chief Henry Halleck is a moron. It would be for the good of the nation if both were replaced. President Lincoln is not ready to hear how his two most trusted military advisors should be fired from men who just suffered the greatest defeat of the Union. Does General Burnside have the support of anyone? The leader of the Army of the Potomac is an honest man. He admits he doesn't have the backing of his officer corps. He relents that it might be better for him to resign and leave the army. Lincoln asks him to reconsider, and the commander returns to the army, demoralized himself. On the 20th, as the weather calms, General Burnside begins his march, moving to Banks Ford. He plans to distract the Army of Northern Virginia with one grand division, across the other two elsewhere. Unfortunately, the 20th was an outlier. As the night comes, rain falls, and the ground turns to mud. The 21st is mostly an exercise in futility, trying to bring up the cannons. By the 22nd, some are in place, but General Robert.E.Lee has sharpshooters in place. With enemy before him, a crossing would be suicidal. The commander of the Army of the Potomac falls back. His mud march, a complete failure. We shall then move westward for a general on shaky ground. Major General Ulysses S. Grant. You see, he has a problem. The best way to take Vicksburg is with naval support, but bending the Mississippi River right before the city would force his ironclads and way less defended ships to slow down and be subject to deadly fire from Confederate heavy guns. The solution? Just don't use the bend. Simple enough. But sadly, there isn't a canal to bypass it. Grant hopes to cut a canal and allow his ships to move south of Vicksburg unmolested. He sends the plan to Lincoln, who should get back to him on the 23rd. In June of last year, work was started, and in July it ended, because of disease and the fact that it's an overall very dumb idea. Not impossible, just stupid. That brings us to the career being ended. Well, not saved would be more accurate. Major General Fitz John Porter. He was removed from command and brought before a military tribunal for disobeying a lawful order and misbehavior in front of the enemy, for his actions at the Second Battle of Bull Run. The trial itself is bad, it's just a bunch of finger-pointing and politics. In the end, Porter is found guilty on both charges from a secret vote that instantly gets leaked to the press. Traitor to my country! One did treason so peril and labor to rescue it from destruction. If the charge had not assumed the solemn form that's been given to it, it would be received everywhere where my whole conduct is known as ludicrous, false, or the creation of a morbid or distempered brain. He is banished from the government, and General Pope, his opponent, is also kept in an informal exile. Both men lost. So did America, as many people saw the trial as a sham. I don't disagree. The burden of proof was on the prosecution, and they didn't meet it. The failure of Second Bull Run may have been officially pinned on Porter, but everyone came out of this trial worse than they went in. Then there is Sickles. The Mud March demoralizes him and his men at the end of the week, but real hope at the start of the week, as on the 16th of January, 1863, President Abraham Lincoln nominates General Sickles to Major General. That's where the week ends, and it's short, so I'll make this short. The Union has a lot of internal politics, and right now it's clear which way things are heading for a change of command. A purge of McClellan's men. The man has no command. but still a huge sway over the army and the populace. He is the new face of the Democratic Party, and Lincoln, his former boss, is his primary rival. In the aftermath of 1862, Lincoln needs to hold his party together, and McClellan needs to reinvent his. Hello, it's the Sire Civil War Week by Week team here. Thank you for staying to the end of the video. I'm glad to now have finished cleaning up my, well, admittedly inability to keep track of things, with finally General Order number 11 being done with. I would like to thank everyone who has stayed with me this entire time, my 4 patrons whose names you already saw. They really are the people who, well, help keep this thing going. You should now be seeing a place to subscribe, a place to watch a single video, or a place to watch a playlist. I recommend clicking on one of the 3s, or, if you're one of the select few, all 3. I hope to see you next week.